What is up, people? It is Dave, Duncan, Ross, back from Metal Epidemic for our final video of our top 20 albums of 2024. On this video,
just got real, Dave.
Fucking real.
This
Duncan.
is the listen. Watch the other videos because we love the counts, and YouTube also loves the counts. And Dave might get an award someday from YouTube, which is a plaque that he can't share with me, which I kind of feel like is like shortchanging the effort that I bring to this.
I'll cut it in half, Duncan.
Interrupting you and just generally causing mayhem. But I will say this: all the other videos we've done thus far are fucking great. This is the most important one.
Top 5, Duncan. Top 5 albums. Let's do it. Let's make our break time. Number 5. My number 5, really a band that needs no introduction at Metal Epidemic because we talk about this band. Feels like every year, but this is the third time they've been in my top 10 in the last 5 years. And yeah, that should tell you everything you need to know because this band are exceptional. They are, of course, Bay Area post-metal doomgazers, Mountaineer. Their new album, Dawn and All That Follows, was released on July 26 via Dunk Records and 1000 Arms Music. So this one's had a mention already. It's just fucking incredible. I love this album. And like you said earlier, Duncan, this I honestly thought when this came out, this was like a July release, this was going to be easily top 3, easily, no fucking arguments, no questions, top 3. The fact that it's sitting at number 5 is fucking nuts, but it's like I said on the review, it's kind of like listening to a greatest hits album. Every track is like its own little interconnected part of the story on Dawn and All That Follows. All different, but all, incredible on their own. And together on one album, it's just an experience. I feel like every time a new song kind of reaches its peak, I had like a new favourite. And then on each track, they kept doing something that was more impressive than what they'd done before. And it just flows like incredibly well. Like the tracks are just seamless into one another. Compositions are amazing. There's not a verse or chorus on this that feels flawed in length. Like even the pacing of how they build a track up is just perfect. I think nearly every track opens with some sort of like clean or like kind of softer guitar passage that just develops before it finally hits you with that like wall of guitars from Mountaineer. And there's 3 fucking guitarists in this band, so
it's a distant amount of guitarists, Dave.
When it hits you, it fucking absolutely hits you. It's a force. And they just continue to build upon that, back and forth. These tracks just like ebb and flow between distorted guitars and ethereal melody and layers of texture and lead work, and just so many moments that just felt like breathtaking on this album. Once again, though, I feel like the evolution of Miguel, the vocalist, is just unreal to hear. Like his melody on this album and his phrasing is just fantastic. It gets better on every release, and I think, again, like I've said this a few times, but this I feel like it's his best performance so far. The melodies are just so on point. His range on tracks like Prism is just incredible. He hit new levels there. There's not a single track here that drops in quality or feels like the band are just phoning it in. It's a heavy album, but it's emotional. It's full of atmosphere and texture. It's just a brilliant listen from front to back. Like you said, Bloodletting for me was like flawless. It was my favorite album of theirs up until this point. I feel like this album is just as good as Bloodletting, and in any other year, this could have been like first or second place in my top 10. But here we are. So that's my number 5, Mountaineer and Dawn and All That Follows. Duncan, take it away, number 5.
We've been building to this. We've been awaiting it. You've already mentioned it in a previous video, so let's get into it. Number 5 for me, Harriet, Devoured by the Mouth of Hell. Why did it score so high? I will tell you why. It's that big old industrial lick. You know what I mean? You pay money for that in a brothel. You know what I mean? Like serious money. I want the industrial lick. It's the one that starts at the bottom of the pole and ends at the top. Holy fucking shit! Like we thought we knew what we were getting before we kicked this off because we'd done it. We'd done it before. We'd been through the EP. We're like, hey, it's fucking great. I can't wait for them finally release an album. So it turns out like Century Media signed them up and then like put them in the Ivan Drago fucking treadmill running up a hill like that, injecting them with steroids. Because what came out the other side is easily one of the heaviest things I've heard this year. It is just fucking intense, brutal, heavy with that like stark grey industrial fucking production. And you get all that and you zone in on it. So when those moments of melody and darkness start to seep their way through, you're introduced to a completely different element of the band which stands out. And it's dynamics, kids. If you're going to do something heavy all the way through an album, you need something to break it up because you will no longer have a concept of what is heavy. And Harry used them utilised throughout the album. Perfectly placed. Vocals incredible. Like, fucking, like, just, like, it's the sort of thing that just makes me excited. Like, to be, one, a music fan, two, be a British music fan, and three, for a band who've worked like a decade to get here.
Yeah.
They've now got their debut out, and they will hopefully reap all the rewards of that debut, which will result in hopefully headlining tours and all the things that come with it. And I don't want to write it off because it's already come out, but this is how good album 1 is. Where do we go? Like, it's an exciting concept for me, and it's difficult not to be excited for not only the band, but the journey that they're going to go on. I think this is, as extreme British metal bands went this year, Harriet were head and shoulders above the rest. I think this is fucking incredible. Flawless album. Harriet, Devoured by the Mouth of Hell, out in Century Media. It came back out in September. It's my number 5.
Ross, number 5.
My number 5 is a Duncan recommendation. It is Twin Flames by Gallo, or if you're going to be that annoying way, Givlo, because he does that annoying VA thing that I hate.
It's the capital K instead of a C in bands.
Yeah,
really.
But we spoke about Spotify Wrapped earlier. Die by Your Hand from this album was my most listened to song of the year.
Banger.
You want to talk choruses? Mate? Gallo's got them. Sumerian Records used to ? Have them. We'll find out.
We don't know. Like,
we don't know what's
happening. Give us
details
on this because we don't know what the fuck is going on now. All we know is we're following him wherever it goes.
Yeah. But this is like, the album artwork for this perfectly encapsulates the way this album sounds for me, because it's got that kind of mumble rap-y little peep sort of thing. Yep. But if that was on a PS2 game, and that's how this album for me sounds. Like, again, it's just so many choruses. The synths are so, and I'm saying this as a positive, they're so stock. Like, it just sounds like your default Fruity Loops synth one.
I bought a Yamaha, I pressed the demo button, and I've sang along in a goth tone. That is literally this whole album, and I love it for it.
I watched an Ishan tutorial, couldn't be arsed. Start tutorials. Like, and it's, again, it's just the atmosphere it cooks up. It's like, again, I've already referenced them, which I didn't think they'd come up twice today, but it's that sort of Depeche Mode goth, just beats style of like music that, again, it's not usually my sort of thing, but it's came up a couple of times on this list. Like, I cannot believe how good Twin Flames by Gallo is. Like, when I heard it on first listen, I was impressed, but just the strength of the choruses on this, even like the backing vocals, again, in Die by Your Hand, the kind of Let Me Go refrain is constantly in a loop in my head. Like, I cannot shake that chorus off. Last Dance, which seems to be the kind of song that's taken over from this album. I've actually seen it doing the rounds on like TikTok and social media and stuff, so hopefully that gets more eyes on the project. But I'll say, when this is such an easy listening album, this is quite a few albums, and same with both your guys' lists as well, are maybe not the easiest to recommend. I can't think of someone I couldn't recommend this album to.
Yeah.
Like, it's so digestible, and I mean that as a positive. Like, it's it'd be quite hard not to like it. Like, it's just got everything. It's got that sort of punk energy, but it's also got that laid back, lo-fi kind of feel to it as well. It just ticks all the boxes for me. I'm so impressed, and I'm really liking the new stuff he's putting out as well. So it seems like new music is coming
around the edges, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like kind of someone that's kind of been let off a leash a wee bit. So I'm intrigued to see where that goes next. But if we get another Twin Flames, I'll happily take that as well. So Twin Flames by Gal is my number 5.
Sexy. Number 4, been mentioned already, but this one was always going to be top 5 for me. Always going to be top 5. I feel like this is a band just like on the cusp of just exploding. They're already great. I'm not saying like they're almost that band. They're already that.
Oh, they're there. They're 100% there.
They just need someone to go, okay, you come with us and we're just going to make you fucking massive.
I am a rich millionaire and want to invest money in you doing what you do to get you everywhere.
Yeah.
That's all they need. So do it.
Number 4, the Gothenburg metalcore band Grayscale Season and the new album Feel Something New, released on March 8th, self-released. I'll echo what Duncan said earlier. This is fucking unreal. We've been kind of following the band over the last couple of releases. This one, though, just absolutely hit the nail on the head. This is down-tuned, full of groove and weight, but at the same time, the band can flip a switch and give you something on a much grander scale, which is catchy as fuck and lush in melody and atmosphere and profound lyrically as well. Production's got like a fucking set of balls on it, just so fucking big. Their shortest album to date at like 27 minutes, but that is not a negative at all.
It's
I
not
think
missing anything.
they've stripped it down. They've got rid of any kind of excess fat and just given you 8 absolute bangers on one album. For me, there's no weakness or miscalculations. It just delivers on every single front. Vocally incredible. 2 vocalists, one doing the heavier parts, one doing the melody, and just they both absolutely nail it on this release. I feel like this is a band that had been teasing something of this level for a while, and this is them finally delivering that. This is like a phenomenal release. If you dig that kind of bands like Loathe or Humanity's Last Breath and Deftones, then this is it'll make you completely erect. This is or the female equivalent of that. Massively like underrated. How they're not on a huge label, I'll never know. But
I don't get it.
They're gonna get there eventually. People will catch up. It's a matter. I think it's more a matter of time now than anything else.
Yeah. I don't understand how metalcore could be in such a bad way at the minute, and bands like this are not getting the recognition.
It makes no sense.
Makes
It's
no
almost
sense.
as if the industry is pushing bands that shouldn't be getting pushed because of name value from, I don't know, over a decade ago, in favour of bands that are doing really, really fucking good shit right now that would shift units, but they're unknown quantities because of not being on a label. So.
Yep, number 4, Grayscale Season, Feel Something New. Duncan, number 4.
Ain't no flies on this top 4. I'm telling you right now, this is as confident a top 4 that I've ever put forward in the entirety of my reviewing career, which dates back about 12 years now. This is, to me, the most unimpeachable top 4 I have ever put forward. Wow. And all of them with slightly connecting tissue, but at the same time, all of them very much their own thing. Let me start off with 4, which has been mentioned. I think this might be out with Chat Pile, the only band that's been mentioned 3 times. This is Doddseskadar with Year 2, out on 45 Records, which is their record label. So this is, once again, self-released. This came back out in March. Dave gave this to me. He passed it to me almost as if it was Excalibur pulled from a stone. I give you this fine sword, Sir MacLeish. Go forth and liberate our people. And I was like, Dave, I will take this sword, but only if it is cranked full of detuned guitars, atmosphere, and a little bit of new metal. And it turns out it's full of that. This is my jam. This is my, those videos, what's your vibe? This is my vibe, and it's people sitting on a couch like fucking eating a burger or some shit like that. Fuck that, right? This is my vibe. My vibe is two guys who are literally sitting there saying, we are going to write music and nothing is off the table. Like, everything is included. This is everything I've been talking about for, 2 decades when I talk about J-rock and I'm like that. The beauty of, like, Japanese music is everything. Like, music is music. Like, we'll connect everything, we'll throw everything against the wall. Sometimes you will sit there and go, ugh. Like, but for the majority, they'll try and weave things together, and it's exciting as someone like me to follow that journey through. And Zencastr is a distilled version of that. There's no 2 songs on this release that sound remotely similar to the thing that came before, yet it is universally their sound. The first listen, like, I was like, that first track, and it's all just like Deftones-y, and it's all sparse and all the rest, and then about 3 minutes into it drops the most fucking disgusting riff, and the vocals like reach a register. And at that point you're like, I don't know, like, I don't know what's going on, I don't know where we're going, I'm excited, and you're on the journey with the band. I played this to fucking death. Dave obviously held the vinyl up on a previous video. The guys kindly sent over some stuff post-review because they liked the way that we... In fact, I think they may have said, you guys got it. And that to me is, it's the biggest compliment as a reviewer I can be paid, because I didn't set out to get the band, I just gave them my honest reaction, but I'm fucking delved into what they do, precision point. They are one of 2 bands I'm going to mention in my top 5 that were brand new discoveries for me, which I am now absolutely fucking obsessed with. This album is just incredible, and just all I'm going to say is, when you listen to it, if this is the first time listen of the recommendations we've given, and you get through a track and you're like, maybe that track's not for me, stick with it, because they will give you everything. And it's just fucking awesome, man.
Yep.
They're so fucking good. I am gutted that when they came across and played recently live, and we didn't get to see them. We will get out to see them when they come back over. But yeah, number 4 for me, Zencastr, Year 2, came back out in March on 45 Records, which is technically self-released. There you go. So fucking good, man.
Belgian duo. And it's worth saying, one plays bass and vocals, another does drums. No fucking guitars.
That's
that
actually fucking insane, man.
No guitar.
How do you, and they do all the production, they do everything themselves. It's all in-house. They do all the production, everything is them. And it doesn't make sense. Like, the brain is broken. So.
Ross, what you got for number 4?
So my number 4 is A Piece of Me I Never Let You Find by New Orleans band Cane Hill. So this band kind of started off a bit nu metal revival. As times went on, they've kind of stripped that away more and more. They had a kind of series of EPs, and 3 EPs that were all self-released before earlier this year signing to Out of Line Music, which is a German record label. And this is their first time back on an album, on a label, so they decided to go back to the kind of album format rather than doing kind of repeated EPs. And I think this is exceptional. Like, honestly, I think this might be the best thing they've done. I was the perfect age for Smile coming out. I was kind of not long out of school, loved nu metal, loved metalcore, and that just mixed those 2 things perfectly together. But now it's almost like in the same way the Toy Story movies worked for my age. Like, you know, first Toy Story came out, I was a kid, and then the third one takes place when you're leaving, going to college. This has had the same effect. It was kind of nu metal, metalcore, and now it's a bit more ambient-y. It's a bit more kind of tuned in. It's not as throwback as it used to be. And it's the way it's clipped to people as well. So I seen them before this album came out in the smaller room of Classic Grand supporting someone, and there's maybe 20 people, if that. And then this album came out, and I seen them in the garage attic 3 days after the album came out, and the show was sold out. And when I tell you, people were singing choruses of songs that only came out 3 days before. Like, I was really surprised at how much people were in, and you could see on stage how much it meant to them, that they were surprised. during the set, they're like, "Oh, this is the horny section of the show." They just played 3 songs from this album back to back. Like, this album, it does have its horny moments, but it's also got its really heavy moments. Like, the Midnight Sun is like I said earlier, there's Tribulation was in contention for my song of the year. I think the Midnight Sun is my song of the year. Like, it's got everything that I would want in a song. It's got a huge chorus, excellent production, heavy as fuck, massive chunky riffs. Like, I'm so surprised at a band that are like 5 EPs and 3 albums in are still churning out ideas that I'm generally surprised about, where I felt like I kind of knew the hand that they had, and they've managed to surprise me. I've seen a lot of kind of comparisons to bands like Bad Omens and even Poppy, which are bands that I do quite like. I've spoken about Bad Omens on this show before, but I feel like they have their ends sanded off. This does not have that at all. I feel like, to me, this is still visceral when it needs to be. It still goes hard when it needs to. And I'm surprised that it's kind of you can see it on their kind of numbers online and stuff as well. It's slowly starting to tick up, which I'm kind of surprised about. But when the songwriting's this good, I'm happy. Like, I'm happy it's happening for them. Vocalist Elijah is just on one. Like, that boy his range has always been excellent. They even had the acoustic EP, so to hear those kind of softer tones come in as well, I think really suits him. I think that's maybe why it's connecting with more people. But yeah, this is a band really firing on all cylinders. Choruses, riffs, breakdowns. It's got everything I could want in an album. I'm just sad it's not higher, if I'm being honest. But A Piece of Me I Never Let You Find by Cane Hill, what a return to form.
Yeah, I've not listened to this, so I will
it's
be
great,
listening
man.
to this tomorrow. So.
Very good.
Okay, gents. Top 3.
The final 3.
Getting down to the serious business. Weirdly though, my top 3 releases were probably the easiest picks of my
Me too.
list.
I would agree
Yeah.
with this. This was,
I'd
this
agree.
was locked in almost from the moment that I heard each of them. So
Yeah, like slotted in like a 3-fingered glove.
where's that glove going? Why is it going there? Did you get permission first? You didn't. I can see it in your face. Yeah, a chancer.
Kicking
Huh?
off, my top 3
I'm
is
not going to acknowledge them. I'm going to talk right through it and hope he
I just want to
silences
finish the
himself.
podcast.
none other than Bristol-based experimentalists Sugar Horse. Their new album, The Grand Scheme of Things, was released on October 4th via Pelagic Records. Man, I'm just going to say this first. We knew. All right, that's all I'm going to say. We fucking.
Are we doing this? Are we doing this here right now? Are we flexing?
Yeah. I mean,
Let's go.
hashtag humble brag. I mean,
Hungle brag. isn't it?
Humble brag.
Because
Hungle
we
brag.
did say at the start, whoever has the biggest cock gets to go first. So, like, Hungle brag.
Humble
does work that
brag.
way,
Dave
so
started us off.
Hungle brag.
we reacted to a few singles off this album, and we both had lots of things to say about them, but
Yeah.
the general gist was this was potentially going to be a very special album. And
My most anticipated album of the year.
Yeah.
So,
and it didn't let us down in the slightest. I think they said this was going to be like a sidestep and a move away from what was expected of them. In a lot of ways it is. It's an album with moments of like crushing sludge and post-metal weight, but it's more focused on something deeper than that. It's an album that's themed around the end of life and like a meditation of the journey towards death. So it's very profound, and one that the vocalist Ashley poured his kind of soul into after the passing of his dad. We both enjoyed the previous album. I had some like small critiques on the length of some of the tracks. The grand scheme of things, though, is like just way more direct. It's to the point. And although the album is, in fact, the same length as the previous album, mainly down to one particular track, but this album is just a complete home run. I love the fact they use this kind of huge, like, dreamy atmosphere and organ as a kind of backdrop to the album. It's very, very ethereal, very otherworldly, and it's kind of like has a feeling of like kind of floating from like one passage into another, as you like kind of journey through this album. It's a very, very clever idea because it does give this feeling of like cohesion and fluidity that just adds into the theme of the album. This is like incredibly well written and constructed. Nothing feels out of place or misjudged by the band. The big kind of hefty, those kind of meaty parts, they all come in at the right time. They never go on too long. And there's more. There's less kind of almost kind of meandering on this album. There's still experimentation, but because that's what they do. But it always feels like justified on this release. It has a point. The vocal melody's just incredible by Ash, like just hugely catchy, but like delivered with sincerity. The screams on like New Dead Elvis, just like you can really feel it, like what he's going through. And then they end it with Space Tourist, which is 24 minutes long. And like might be one of the most genius endings to an album I heard in 2024.
The only track I have ever hard 180'd on from one listen to another.
Yeah.
First listen I had, and we
Yep.
spoke about it in the review, first listen I was like that, this is fucking stupid, it's infuriating. And then next time I listened to it, I was like, this is maybe the most ingenious thing I've ever heard done musically.
Agree, totally agree. I mean, it's literally 4 minutes of music, and then 20 minutes of this expedition of synths and atmosphere.
It's transcendence. If you imagine the idea of being drawn to, like, you see, like, if you've ever seen the movie Ghost, and Patrick Swayze goes towards the end of imagine there was a sim that covered that, and that is literally the last 20 minutes of this album. It's fucking insane.
Yeah, and I was the same. Like my first listen was like, what the fuck? And then every listen after that, I was like,
get smarter.
Oh, I get it. I totally get it. I understand what they're doing here. It's just a very special album, with a production that just fits like a 3-finger glove. Like I bought this. I should have mentioned this. I got the vinyl right here.
Colours the vinyl, Dave. You need to take it out.
It's black. I'm sure there's some fancy coloured variant of it. But
fucking like talk in it like it's the music that counts. I don't know what the fucking vinyl is.
It's black. I like black. It's fine. I get goosebumps with this album. It's like Sugar Horse, like showing you their personality, but it's delivered with the perfect amount of hooks and heaviness and experimentation to keep you coming back. But it's got this like whole other kind of like emotional kind of level to it as well, which is just great. I love this. Easily in my top 3. Like there was no question about this album not being my top 3. Sugar Horse, the grand scheme of things, is my number 3. Duncan, what's your number 3?
Have we failed? Cause I can't decide. Cause all the evidence points to our demise. Number 3 is Sugar Horse. This absolutely fucking obliterated me. Like, honestly. We had a recording, I don't know how long ago it was. It might be when we were reviewing Outlander, and I was saying to you at that point, the pre-release of this album is getting played. I hate pre-releases. I hate like, there's 3 singles being released, so I was spinning it constantly, like 3-4 times a day, like every fucking day. And then we arrived in October. We arrived at the grand scheme of things, and I sat down, and notwithstanding the ending, which we've talked about, I got myself ready for something, and not only was I rewarded, but I think we said at the end of our review, Sugar Horse are maybe the best band in the UK, and I think that might stand. I think it's just a different level of everything. They're not the most musically diverse. They're not breaking ground with, blast beats and technicality. Like vocally, they stick within a particular range. Musically, they stick within a particular genre. they're not pushing anything, but the cohesion shown on the grand scheme of things is a level above almost anything else I heard this year. The flow, you mentioned the organ and the kind of the atmosphere in the background that connects the songs. I always remember like trying to describe particular movies in a certain way, where like when I was trying to describe Cloverfield back in the day, and people were like, "What's Cloverfield?" And I'm like, imagine a love story with the backdrop of a disaster movie, and that's what it is. On a movie, I think it's Monsters, and I was like, imagine an alien invasion in the background, but there's something happening. Like, that's the bit you're not supposed to pay attention to. That's the grand scheme of things. That sound, that organ, that transcendental sound that is carrying you through the movements, like almost like ghosts passing through rooms. That thing that sits in the background, a ghost story. The thing that sits in the background is that organ, is that atmosphere, and it connects all the movements, all the life that exists within the album. And the last 20 minutes is just a tour de force of one, I'm going to just put out here, absolutely bullshit confidence, because that either works or it fucking doesn't. And there's no middle ground. There's no one listening to that last track and going, "That it's fine." Like you either love it or you hate it, and they went all in on it. And like I say, I've never 180'd as much on a track. To the point, if you listen to the last 20 minutes as well, it's all playing for the last 20 minutes. It's not just a sound looped over. Like, the instruments are doing things throughout those movements to take you to the very end. I likened it very much to Beyond the Void, the Gaspar Noé movie, which encompasses the Tibetan Book of the Dead. That's right, I'm educated. I likened it to that, and I stick by that. It feels like on the moment of someone passing on, the idea of recapturing or living all the moments in their life and the prominence that exists within, encapsulated in an album, and I can't think of any other album that's ever fucking done that. In any other year, I'm going to stress this again, any other year this would have been one, and it would have been uncontested, and there would have been a gap between that and anything else. Sadly, there was two albums I loved before, I love more than it, but before closing out, I want to stress that of all the things that are mentioned on here, if there is one album that you listen to it, the 20 that I've mentioned, Sugar Horse in the grand scheme of things is the one that I'm rooting for. It's fucking incredible. And on Pelagic Records, could there be a better fit? I mean,
no.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Number 3, Ross. What you got?
Well, lads, take my hand. Because we're off to Never Never Land. It is Never Never Land by Unto Others is my number 3. You want to get your denim jackets on, boys? Dave, if you had some, let the hair down and just have a good time. That's
Dave
what this
could have son who just chooses to shave it off.
That's what this album is to me. It is just the best time. It's so much attitude for no fucking reason. And I'm so happy it's there. If you can find me another album that has more wolf howls than this, I'll put that in my top 3 instead. But I refuse to believe it exists. It's the wolf howls, it's the whoas. The mama likes the door closed, the what? Riff. I don't know why they've waited till 3 albums in to just start writing their heaviest songs yet as well. Like, Flatline is comfortably the heaviest thing this band have ever done. It just fucking goes. And weirdly, it's like, I'd say that's probably their heaviest song. I had a friend who listened to this album before me, who was like, "Have you heard New Unto Others?" I was like, "No, not yet." He was like, "Well, they've got a song on it called Sunshine that sounds like post-reunion, take that." And I was like, I don't mind it, but fucking take that. And it does, but in the best way possible. Like, the choruses on this are that strong, they could be misguided as if they were boy band choruses. As I said, Mama likes the door closed. You want, like, to put like skits in songs. Like, there's a whole section in this song where he's like, "Oh, Mum is not a servant of the devil." What? Huge, big, double time thrash riff. Chorus comes back in at double speed. It's just a band so confident. If you're going to listen to this, you need to listen to the deluxe version because you need that cover of Pet Sematary at the end, or it's not the right version
Oh,
of
fuck,
the
I
album.
love Pet Sematary as well.
Yeah, of course. Who doesn't? And there's also like kind of more kind of sadder moments. The Farewell, which is a song that's in Japanese as well. That's kind of more heartfelt. But for me, it's just sunglasses on, Ray-Bans, denim jacket, big riffs, tons of personality. Some of the catchiest songs I've heard this year. Like Suicide Today might be one of the catchiest songs I've ever heard. In the hands of a lesser band, like the It Will Be Okay gang vocal could sound so cheesy and so just ill-fitting, but they sell it. And to have this kind of really fun, upbeat song about suicide, like the line in the bridge, like "Who cleans up the blood that splatters," back into this catchy, like uplifting chorus. It's just, honestly, it's the songwriting on this is so good. I cannot recommend this album enough. If you're going to listen to one album from my list, make it Never Never Land by Unto Others, because honestly, what a band. They're playing with a Green Lung in the UK next month as well. So
Interesting. Like, because I think I can't speak for Dave, but I downloaded the album after you posted it in the chat and listened to it through, and I really enjoyed it. So
yeah, I love it. Yeah, if you're big on that Creeper album last year that I've
Yes.
bagged on about in this podcast, then definitely check this out. It's the same producer, so check this out. Yeah, Never Never Land by Unto Others. It's my top 3.
Okay.
shit is getting serious because there's only 2 left.
Number
Doesn't
2.
rhyme, but who cares? Hawk 2.
Hawk
Top
2.
2.
Hawk 2.
Did you say Hawk 2?
Hawk 2.
Hawk 2.
Where's my meme coin?
Hawk 1. Here we go.
Number 2, man, I fucking love this album. This was like so fucking close to being number 1. It came out in fucking January 2024.
Right at the start of the year. This
Fucking-
is Dave's big black heart on display, ladies and gents.
Self-released by the band, who are the Nashville funeral grind band Null. Their new album, As Spoken, came out on January 26th, and this is just everything.
Here we go.
lads. This is everything.
Oh. Dave, where did you get that vinyl?
When we went to see the band, Duncan,
This is me throwing them under the bus.
I said, you know what? I'm not buying t-shirts anymore. I'm going to buy a wee vinyl.
I'm only in vinyls now. I'm not doing t-shirts. I have
t-shirts.
enough t-shirts. Every time I buy a
Vinyl
t-shirt,
only
the wife
diet.
makes me. He was like that. Every time I buy a t-shirt, the wife makes me throw out a
Yep.
t-shirt, and I'll just focus on the vinyls. And I was like, Dave, that is a great fucking idea. You
Great
should
idea.
just focus on those vinyls and
Yeah.
build up a wee collection for yourself.
That's exactly what I was planning on doing, Duncan.
That
And then
plan,
I got there.
Plan is a key word there. What happened on the day, Dave?
All went to fuck, Duncan. Because we met the band, we interviewed Jamie, the vocalist, and he was one of the most articulate human beings I've ever
So
interviewed.
he's like ridiculously clever.
He's fucking hyper intelligent and just had the best answers for questions ever. Like, just I wish we had like an hour with him, because he was just
we'll get there. Next time they're over,
incredible.
Me and you will take him for a pint. We'll sit him
but-
down for an hour and we'll get to it.
what a lovely guy. Like, just he was so grateful just for us being there, chatting to him and giving the guys coverage with the review and stuff. They put on an absolutely fucking phenomenal performance, and I ended up buying a t-shirt and the vinyl for that night.
Which wasn't the plan, Dave.
Was not the plan, but
Worth it.
had to be done. Vinyl is fantastic. The album is just encapsulates everything I love about extreme music, and this album is extreme. It is an album with fucking zero limits. There is no stop sign. There is no fear. These guys just make music the way they want, with no fucks given, and for how demanding it may be, or this album. It takes everything that Met Empiric had, their previous album, and just intensifies it. It's even more blackened and even more grim than before, but like interwoven with these like dissonant kind of death metal elements. There's bits of grind and crust and almost this avant-garde experimental streak, the way that it weaves in the bits of brass into the tracks. It's an album with a very kind of nightmarish tone to it. The guitars are just incredibly disgusting and ominous, and the chord choices are just they're like nothing I've heard done by another band this year. Just so like dissonant and complex, and like the way they've leaned into that Blackened side on this album and really expanded on it is just it's added a whole other level of malevolence to their sound. Vocally though, this is like one of my favorite things this year. Jamie just reaches into this all sorts of new places on this album. It's still gnarly and full of like bile and rasp, but his pitch and his tone is just ridiculous. Like,
Can pull it off live as well. Can't
Yeah.
stress that enough. What you hear on the album is what you will hear when you see them live, which
Yep.
is mind fucking blown.
it's just I love bands that will push the boundaries, and Null are all about that. And every album goes further, it's more intense, and As Spoken is their most vicious today. I think these guys are like woefully underrated, not nearly talked about enough. And if you love like extreme music that has no restraints, then this is one to check out. It's my favorite extreme album of 2024. It's Null, As Spoken at number 2. Duncan, number 2. What have you got for
Oh,
me?
we finally got to it. Finally got to it. Like, you could clear an hour for me to talk about this, and I still feel like I'd be underselling it. This is a Dave off the cuff recommendation.
Yeah.
Like, this is like a passing
Aye.
comment on the what we've been listening to part of the podcast, where Dave just throws out something. And he's like, yeah, well, I was listening to this and it was really weird and we're doing lots of different things. And I'm not sure, you may want to check it out. And I'm like, that, Dave, I will check this out. And then cut to me 12 hours later, listening to it and being like that, this is what is missing from my life. And I, like, this is my, according to Apple, other providers are available, and my replay, this is my most played album of the year. It is not my most played album of the year. My number 1 is my most played album of the year, because I'd listened to it 50 times before we recorded our review on it, but that was on the pre-release copy, which I then deleted and then downloaded the album so the band would get the 5 pence that they'll get or something for me downloading it from Apple. So as a result, I lost the 50 odd listens I had previously. But when you take into account that this album came out in September, right, and like more than tripled the listens of any other album that I have listened to this year, it gives you an indication of how much I was into it. The band are Foxing. The album is Foxing. It's a self-titled. The band have been on the go for about a decade, and I had never fucking heard of them before. But having gone back through the back catalogue, this band does not have a bad album at all. In fact, what I've realised really quickly is I kind of fucking love this band, like all the way right through. Not only that, this is self-recorded and self-released. You're seeing a theme here, right? This is out on their own record label, Grand Paradise, and this is the guitarist recorded all of this, and this further blows my mind that like the musicianship on this is just a different level. It's just different. Like, they're classed as a Midwest emo band. That's if you do a bit of research. And
They were
if you
sold
go
to
back
me as a
into that-
post-hardcore indie band.
They have
Yeah.
indie, like the way I described them to Dave is I love this as an indie band that had a one and done album and the band split up, and I fucking adore this album. And the band are called Late of the Pier, and they had like one album, and if you get a chance, check it out because it's fucking bonkers and it's all over the place, and it was ahead of its time. And I hear bands now sounding like this, and they were from the UK. Late of the Pier, go and check it out. But it reminded me of Late of the Pier, like meets a kind of melancholic sort of OK Go, with like bits of Nine Inch Nails, and like the list starts expanding out of all this fucking shit that it has in here. And a lot of that doesn't necessarily exist in the older stuff, but this is the album where I kind of feel like the band, because it's their first album self-released, are like, this is kind of we can do whatever we want, the shackles are off, and as a result what you get here is moments of despair and melody, like harshly pitched against like almost Dillinger-esque screaming and Venom, that kind of post-rock element that kicks in, is fucking savage on this. And it is an album that just sits in it. Like, there is not a happy song on here at all, like, even remotely. Lyrically, it's even more depressing when you delve into it. The first single, we spoke about this before, won't spend a huge amount of time because I know we're trying to get this too quick. Their first single is a track called Greyhound. It's 8 minutes long. The fucking video for it is the band at a press conference, which apparently was a real press conference, where the Associated Press was invited and no one fucking showed up. So they just filmed the band sitting listening to the songs in empty seats with all the names of all the publications and no one there. And it's just awkward. Everyone's on their mobile phones, people are checking their watches. And to me, it suits the sound amazingly. And it's everything here. I've seen people, this is the bit that I take a bit of umbrage with. I've seen some criticism online or some reviews where the word new metal is thrown in here, and I disagree with that. I've listened to it like about 50 times at this point. There's no new metal. If by new metal you mean combining things in, I kind of get that. To me, it's not new metal. It's more on the lines of a kind of industrial indie rock. So they're like encompassing those bits which add the harshness in. But there's nothing here that has anything that I would resemble as being a kind of new metal sound. The production is incredible on this, and there's so much synth work that is so intricate and so, we've used the word about a million times, let's use it again, nuanced, do a shot, like just sublimely picked. And then the melody, which sits somewhere in this kind of, not quite falsetto, but it's a high range indie tone, which is just like every note is just sad. I think this is mind-blowingly good. It's an incredible album, and I will be honest, had we not had that 3-minute conversation on a recording back in fucking October, I would never have heard this album. This band have never been on my radar, would never be on my radar. I would not know they exist, and this is one of my favourite albums I've listened to in the past decade. I fucking adore this, and they are over this year. And if we can't get on the guest list, Dave, I will murder someone to get a ticket. I need to see them. Like, I need to see them. It's what I love about everything about music. I wish it was in this band. I wish I was writing this music. It speaks to me, man. So yeah, my number 2. Foxing by Foxing on Grand Paradise, which is technically their record label. It came back out on the 13th of September. 13, unlucky for some, but not for me. So.
Excellent. Ross, number 2.
My number 2 is No Hands by Joey Valence and Bray. Hand me a bagel, I'll eat that shit. Hand me a Beyblade, I'll let it rip. This album has more bars than a fucking Cadbury's chocolate factory. I cannot believe some of the stuff on this doesn't even fucking make sense, and it's just so unbelievably catchy. It's just said with such conviction that you just let them away with it. Like, there's a line: "Freeze like ice, ice like blue, froze like honey. Where's my super suit?" Unreal, unreal. I shouted this line out last time actually, but when I was 10, I was sipping Shirley Temples. Present day, I'm still shipping Shirley Temples. Like, and I said about Bill Murray and Aaron West earlier, but the smoothest saxophone you'll hear this year is the title track of this album. It is like pale dust levels of just smooth sax. It's unbelievable. It's just so much attitude. This is like, I never got to see the live show last year, but this is the party album of the year. So much so that people kept calling Brat by Charlie XCX the party album of the year. So then they recorded a cover of Charlie XCX to put on the deluxe version of this album.
I did not fucking know
they
that.
Have a cover they've got a cover of 365 by Charlie XCX.
Oh, what
on
are
the
we doing
deluxe
here?
version.
Let's kill the podcast. Let's get on to that shit.
It's so good. Like, they can just, the lyrics that they come up with. When I was in school, I failed statistics, but I nailed sex ed. Hey, and straight back in. So many video game puns and just cutaway lines. All black fit, call me Danny Phantom. Then they bring Danny Brown out like it's the Royal Rumble and he's the last person to be called out. He comes in at like prime Cypress Hill after I raved about his album last year on the podcast as well. Like the production is leveled up. They've maybe cut away some of the kind of punk edge that they had with Punk Tactics last time out. They've still got like a punk on this album. It's still got the kind of riffs, very Beastie Boys-esque at points as well. And then there's one of the best songs of the year. Just The Baddest is the best Little John song in about 20 years. I sing that song to my girlfriend every second day. Like, we just constantly shout it to each other. It's so catchy. I could play that in any club in Glasgow and it would go off. Honestly, I cannot. This is the easiest put on album. Have a great time. You're going on a night out. You're meeting up with your friends. Let's get hyped up. Let's get the cans in. Joy Valence and Bray. Playing video games, eating ass, watching anime. Come on. Come on.
Come on.
No Hands by Joy Valence and Bray.
Spun it to death since you recommended it at the mid.
It was your reaction to the album cover last time.
And it was everything I wanted and more. Like, genuinely, I think it's fucking great.
It's so good.
Dave listened to it. You did listen to
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I liked it as well, yeah.
You liked it as well.
Good.
So, like, yeah, totally.
Wasn't sure how you feel about it.
We're old enough to remember, like, that sound that they're emulating. We're old enough to remember what it sounded like first time round. So, it's fucking great, man.
Yeah. So good.
Oh.
Okay.
Business time.
Number one.
And Ross is going to be, look at him. He's kind of, every time I come on a recording, you and Dave say you've got different tastes in music.
And here we are, back-to-back years. Like Kappa.
Fuck you for
back
being
to back.
right. I won't live in a world where Ross is right. And I ain't having that.
I was right about Leprous and I was right about this.
These young whippersnappers with this happens all the time and we're like, no, it's no, and then it happens.
Yeah, it's happened. Number one for two of us. Some things cannot be moved. The pyramids,
Well, they technically could be, but it would.
the Colosseum,
I mean, that one's better because it's in there.
Stonehenge.
That one has been moved.
And Data Diamond is my number one pick.
Yes.
That's right. The Reno, Nevada duo 4-stroke Baron have sunk their hooks in and claimed the top spot on my list.
Nothing could make me happier right now than knowing this not only reached a one spot for you at the mid-year, which I would never have put money on because I literally messaged you and said, you're either going to love it or you're going to fuck it. There's no middle ground for Dave on this one. This is a love or hate album. And then for you to say that, for it to hang on to the end of the year makes me very, very happy. So.
Yeah, number one halfway through, and it just nothing could shift it. It was locked in, and it just remained there for the rest of the year. I mean, how do you even put this album into words? But I mean, originally conceived as 2 EPs, one purely electronic, Data, and one heavy, Diamond, which would be melded together to make one full-length release, and
which sounds like an album. Well, that's the thing. Like we've done this and we've done that, and we'll just put them together. Makes it sound half-assed.
Yeah.
And you listen, you're like that. No, that's just the synchronicity between everything just makes sense. So
totally works. It kind of makes the album feel like there's balance in amongst the chaos. You can hear they've taken like elements or like the fabric of their previous release classics and just like amplified it and tightened it up. There's not like a single ounce of fat on this. Like everything is just super concentrated, more like to the point, and just pushed the limits to another level on this. And the end product is just an album that is firstly hyper catchy, but at the same time absolutely genius. I love how ambitious this is, even in the short space of time between classics and now, the jump here is huge. It's an album that's just full of moments that have you questioning everything. Like it's kind of what's captivated me about it. It feels almost alien to begin with. Like this many ideas and genres. Like this shouldn't work on an album, but on every listen after the first one, because the first one was just like, what the fuck. I just appreciated more and more how clever this actually was. Like it's just, I can't even really describe like the sound. It's got a progressive character, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's a progressive metal album. It's like so much more than that. Like the layering of ideas and the genres they've put together just blew me away. The riffs are so unique. Like the switch ups, just wild, but like full of confidence. Same with the vocal melodies and the hooks. They just complement all the madness of this album and just get completely seared into your brain. This is the band's, for me, this is the band's crowning moment. It's almost impossible to put into words or do justice, because it's an album that really just speaks for itself. So much so that, hello.
Jesus fucking Christ. Like, no wonder you're in trouble at home.
Say trouble.
Potato.
Look at all this sexy vinyl though, Duncan. I mean,
that's bra.
Oh,
I would have that.
Yeah,
that's nice.
I think like all the bands that were ripping up that rule book this year, Four Stroke Barn ripped it up and wrote a new book, and that is Data Diamond. It's my number one with a fucking bullet. Four Stroke Barn, Data Diamond. Duncan, the floor is yours.
I mean, it must be close to 100 listens now, which is fucking ridiculous considering the length of the album is 50 odd minutes.
Yeah.
Is it that? Is it that though? Yeah, probably. I don't know. I've listened to it a lot. I listened to it so much so that we'd done the singles, and I was listening to the singles on loop, and then we got the album in a month before review. By the time we reviewed it, I'd listened to it like 50 times. And at the end of the first listen, I was like, "This is fucking amazing!" Like I just like cards down. This I unabashedly love this, and I gave you the heads up, and you were like, And
I still hadn't listened to it. I was like,
weeks later, we're recording. We're getting close to the recording date of the review, and you still hadn't listened to it. I'm getting fucking stressed out. I'm like, Dave's not taking this serious. If he was, he would have listened to it at least 50 times. What the fuck is going on? I kept going through it. And then we came to record it. I love a review of it. It's an album that hasn't done what I thought it was going to do, which is really put them on the map. Apparently has kind of, I mentioned this on the last podcast, on Metal Hammer, it's in their top 10 worst albums released of the year, which once again goes to show why you shouldn't be paying anything towards Metal Hammer, because that is not a publication. Well, no rhyme or reason, it's just this is how it's scored. And we're happy to do the worst 20 albums and do scoring on those, but when we have to do our top 10 best albums, no numbers beside them, because God forbid we upset someone that pays us. Dave, I'm going to say to you, do you remember the 21st night of December?
Oh, I do.
You do. And like, what I love about this is that the band, you're talking about rule books being ripped up, and they are being ripped up to an extent, but all the DNA leading up to this is there. Like, it's not so much a jump that you're like, the band have lost themselves or went too much up their own arse. It's all their classics, which I fucking loved. To me, was the best. I don't think I could have just went cold into Data Diamond. I think I needed to go through classics first to kind of get a grasp of what their sound was.
Yeah.
But this to me is, this is two guys recording themselves with a plethora of instrumentation, an idea and scope, and just giving us what they can do. And that's where my mind is kind of blown. The dexterity in what they play, the songwriting, the lyrical content, which at times is a bit farcical, but that's fine. But the synth sims in particular, the drumming, which you blink and miss how fucking great the drumming is on this one. You get like, because you're so busy paying attention to everything else, you miss how good this fucking drummer is, and I'm assuming he's doing all the programming stuff as well, which is just fucking even more mind-blowing. The guitar work, once again, blink and miss it. It's fucking excellent.
Yep.
And then the vocals, which is what makes Four Stroke Baron infinitely a better band than all those other ones there. He has a kind of almost Tears for Fears-esque 80s sounding tone. And it sits over that music and it sounds great. And like it flows and it's got a lot of reverb and it's very floaty. But it's an album that I like selfishly will never stop listening to. Like it's one of those ones. It's up there with The Fragile by Nine Inch Nails or Mechanical Animals by Marilyn Manson, which I could put on at any fucking time, anytime. I could be 99 and put on and I would still listen to all the way through from start to finish and be overjoyed. And this to me, I don't know how they topped this, but at the same time, I didn't know Four Stroke Baron had this in them, even when listening to classics. So I can't say that I don't think they'll ever top this album, because I think this band is genuinely one of the most creative, inventive bands in the metal genre standing right now. So I am prepared, fully prepared, and fully ready to be surprised on the next release. And they could go anywhere with it, and I will follow them fully. The one thing I will implore them, if they by chance fall upon this small clip, is come to Scotland, please. Next time you're doing a UK tour, that includes Scotland, until such day that this country votes not to be part of the UK, and in which case, you're let off the hook. But until then, a wee gig in Glasgow, so we can be there, and me and Dave will treat you to something. I don't know, we'll treat you to... We're putting on the table, we'll treat you to something.
Is this sexual favours, or where are we going with this?
See, you're asking questions. Never ask questions. We'll treat them...
I need to ask questions.
Something. But yeah, to me, like, from the moment I heard it for the first time, back in, April, right through, this has been my number one album of the year, and it still is. And Foxing came so close. But yeah, this album is incredible. And like I say, you go back through my 5, and there's connected DNA with all those releases, but Four Stroke Baron was the one that cracked it all the way through perfectly. Flawlessly. It's a flawless album.
I need to go back to this, because you speak so passionately about it, both of you. That
everyone on the site, everyone on the site has been nonchalant with it. No one fucking gives a fuck about it. And for whatever reason,
fully just didn't get it. Me
and Dave have connected with it. This is an album written for me. I know why I connect it. I don't understand why Dave likes it, because everything I know about
that surprises me.
Everything I know about Dave means that this album should be a kind of annoyance to him, but for whatever reason, it's clawed into him. And I think if it claws into more people, the world would be maybe a better place.
Definitely to go back to it, because this was the album I was alluding to earlier. I felt hypocritical having 100 gecs last year and Charlie XCX this year. Those vocals, just I can't get into it.
Love the vocals.
It sounds like Cher's lost in the Hellraiser maze or something, and I wish I liked it.
You know who you're talking to right now.
I've only listened to it.
That grew up on Cher and loves Hellraiser. I've Pinhead tattooed on my fucking arm. Dude. You're literally you're singing to the choir here.
But what I will say is, based on what you were saying, I've only listened to it twice, so maybe it needs a couple more to get this kind of hooks into it.
50 times.
Because there's ideas that I really like, and then the vocals come in, and I just kind of can't detach myself from it. But you speak so passionately about it, boys, that I will definitely go back to it.
Well, listen, we spoke about this before. The previous album was recorded by Devin Townsend and has a Devin Townsend sort of production on it. But but for whatever reason, this stuck it for me. For the same way that I don't really like Devin Townsend because of his vocals. I think he gives a little bit too much, and I love him in Strapping Young Lad when he's doing a bit more of the aggressive stuff, and that's cool, but all that fucking proggy spacey Ziltoid shit can get in the fucking bin. Four Stroke Baron, the tone of his voice is better for me, so I just he could sing about anything. He could sing about wiping shit off his foot, and I'd be like, this is fucking profound. I like his tone. If you don't like his tone, it's all over this album.
Yeah.
So chances are you might not like the album. There's no getting around that. So,
Fair.
what's your number one, Ross?
Number one.
I can't believe
I love
all-
this, by the way.
all
I'm
three
so
of us
happy.
have the same number one as we did 6 months ago. How crazy is that?
Yes.
Because my number one is still
Oh, yeah.
She Reaches Out to She Reaches Out to She by Chelsea Wolfe. This album came out in February and it has been my number one since. Just came out, didn't move, and it wasn't even close. It's again what I've said earlier. My favourite thing with music is to start in one place and end somewhere else. And be like, how has this happened? I'm such a visual listener that when I listen to stuff, I feel like I can just see it playing out in my mind's eye. And this album is just the most beautiful blues you have ever seen. It's so vivid the way she sings, and I've heard the live show she done for this, which I unfortunately didn't see, was on a different level. Like she had kind of live production stuff, so she just had one light behind her, so she was like a kind of silhouette, and then she was playing venues kind of like St. Luke, so she looked like a kind of godly figure in front of the crowd. And that's the way this album's kind of made me feel, like whispers in an echo chamber. Just kind of teases you in, brings you in, and then later on you're getting the liminal and everything turns blue, and it's so mesmerizing. Like I feel like when I have this on, I can't listen to it in the background. Like it takes my full attention. I'm in from the second this album starts right to the end. It's like we were just saying with Four Stroke Baron. It has its hooks in me. I've recommended this album to anyone who will listen to me talk about music. I cannot get enough of what she's doing, and it's not even the shortest album either. I think it's about 45 minutes, give or take. But for me, it's not a second is wasted. Like I wouldn't change a single thing about this album. And even since it's came out, she's been doing kind of EPs that are kind of what we were saying about Ishan, kind of like acoustic retellings of some of the songs. But she's got folk from like Cave In and Converge and stuff coming in and helping her with that sort of stuff, and it just brings like a whole new lease of life to this album. Like it just feels like it's constantly evolving. I almost kind of include those EPs in this album. I was obsessed with Hispun when it came out, and I never thought she would kind of reach those levels again. But the fact we're getting like stuff of this quality, I honestly cannot believe the run that Chelsea Wolfe's on with this and the Blood Moon stuff as well. This is, for me, like, this is a generational talent at her absolute best. I think Chelsea Wolfe is at the very top tier of the sort of stuff that we cover. I cannot believe how good this album is. So She Reaches Out to She Reaches Out to She by Chelsea Wolfe is still coming in at my number one.
It's the closest to Nine Inch Nails I've heard without being like a
100%.
direct off a parody. You know what I mean? Like
It's the closest to the Fragile I've heard. Specifically that album.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's my favourite Nine Inch Nails album. I go back to it quite a bit. Generally when I can't sleep and when I'm being all like
yeah. I seen her live in the Academy as well, which is a horrible venue. She was supporting a Perfect Circle. And it was seeing that, I generally just, like, I didn't even know who she was, and I seen that and I just fell in love. Like, I was like, this is everything I've been looking for, and I went and bought Hispun the next day.
I might have been at that gig, by the way. I think I was
No,
at
2018, I think?
No. You've course corrected me. I saw them at the Academy with Auf de Mar.
Oh, fair.
Decades before
Decades
we
before.
were like eating Lunchables.
So that is our top 20 albums of 2024. I'm just going to do a quick rundown of my 20, and I'll get you guys to do the same, and then we'll wrap this video up. So my number 20 was Cognitive and Abhorrence. Number 19 was Ishan. Number 18, Lifesick, Loved by None, Hated by All. Number 17 was Chatpile and Cool World. Number 16 was Flourish and Deepest Wellsprings of Being. Number 15 was Bill Murray and American Motorsports. Number 14 was Outlander, Acts of Harm. Number 13, Harriet, Devoured by the Mouth of Hell. Number 12, Rickshaw Billy's Burger Patrol and Big Dumb Riffs. Number 11, Speed, Only One Mode. Top 10, number 10 we had Iris and Sleep Now in Reverse. Number 9 was Still and A Theft. Number 8 was Monolith, The Black Cradle. 7 was Demersal and Demersal. Number 6 was Dudsiskadr and Year 2. Number 5, Mountaineer, Dawn and All That Follows. Grayscale Season at number 4 with Feel Something New. Number 3 was Sugar Horse, The Grand Scheme of Things. Number 2 is Null and As Spoken. Number 1, 4-Stroke Baron, Data Diamond. Duncan, take it away.
Yep, number 20 was Beaten to Death, Sunrise over Rigor Mortis. Number 19, Big Brave with A Chaos of Flowers. 18 was Null, As Spoken. 17, Eris was Sleep Now in Reverse. 16 was Still, A Theft. 15, Resin with Burden. 14, Grayscale Season, Feel Something New. 13, Monolith, The Black Cradle. Number 12 was Flourish, Deepest Wellsprings of Being. And number 11 was Demersal with Demersal. And my top 10. And number 10, Speed, Only One Mode. 9, Outlander with Acts of Harm. Mountaineer was at number 8 with Dawn and All That Follows. 7, Lure In, We're All Going to Hell. And number 6, Chat Pile with Cool World, I Am Dog Now. Number 5, Heriot, Devoured by the Mouth of Hell. 4, Dudsiskadr with Year 2. 3, Sugar Horse and The Grand Scheme of Things. At number 2, Foxing by Foxing. And at number 1, 4-Stroke Baron with Data Diamond. Ross.
Very nice. My number 20, The Crucible of Life, the home team. Number 19, Sub Rosa and Eternum by Tribulation. 18, The New Sound by Jordy Greep. 17, Cool World by Chatpile. 16, Duet by Shokran. 15, There Goes the Neighbourhood by Kid Capiche. 14, Brat by Charlie XCX. 13, Year 2 by Dudsiskadr. 12, You Won't Go Before You're Supposed To by Not Loose. 11, Every Bridge Burning by Nails. My top 10 was In Lieu of Flowers by Aaron West and the Roaring Twenties. 9 was Yours Until the War Is Over by Amigo the Devil. 8 was Absolute Elsewhere by Blood Incantation. 7 was Coup de Grace and See You Space Cowboy. 6 was your two favourite, Melodies of Atonement by Leprous. 5 was Twin Flames by Gallo. 4, A Piece of Me I Never Let You Find by Kane Hill. 3 was Never Neverland by Unto Others. 2 was No Hands by Joy Valence and Bray. And still my number 1 album is She Reaches Out to She Reaches Out to She by Chelsea Wolfe.
Woo. There we go, boys.
Good year, boys. Good year.
It was a good year. It was a fucking great year.
It was a good year.
And this year can take its foot off the pedal, and I would be happy with that. Less is more, internet. Less is more.
Not gonna happen.
We'll record top 5s next year.
So that is our top 20s of 2024. Let us know what you loved in 2024. We love a list. So hit us up with your end of year lists in the comments below. Stick in your favourites down below. That is it from us. Thank you for checking out our top 20. Keep your eye on our YouTube channel and the Metal Epidemic website for many more reviews coming very soon. That is all from us. Take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.